session, which is organized jointly by Association of Indian Management Schools and Business Standard, the popular print media. Today, one of the interesting and experienced, talented speaker is with us. He came forward to discuss with all the participants the cognitive dissonance and how the marketers can use it. This is one of the emerging and interesting topic for all the participants. Meanwhile, I wanted to tell all the participants and academicians, students, and researchers who connect for this program about Association of Indian Management Schools. This Association of Indian Management Schools is a very big networking body which is working for the growth and development of the teaching and student fraternity of the management studies. And it is organizing skill development activities, faculty development programs, workshops, conferences, also supporting the management schools and colleges. Almost 800 plus institutions throughout the country, including IIMs, XLRI, ISB, and other prominent B schools, autonomous institutions, affiliated colleges, who are the members of this particular organization and the association. So it's not only supporting the students and the faculty institutions in all aspects, it is also acting as a advocacy body of the policymakers, including AICTE, UGC, while making the curriculum and updating the regulations pertaining to the management studies. Especially, there are so many changes made in management studies, curriculums, and the expectations. So to meet those, this AIMS is contributing a lot, and the executive board members and other experts pertaining to AIMS are giving their suggestions and valuable advices to move forward these management studies to the next levels. And this AIMS is organizing an Atma test for the aspirants who wanted to get admission into MBA, especially IIMs, ISB, other XLRI, prominent B schools, and so on. So this is one platform which is giving to the aspirants to get the admissions into MBA. So usually the once in every 6 months it is doing it. And it is also conducting annual convention, flagship activity of annual convention, where a lot of competitions being organized in between the institutions, member institutions, and so many students and faculty administrators pertaining to management schools are attending and participating the events and participating the competitions also. A lot of awards also being declared on this annual convention. So apart from this, it is giving the support, resource support for the member institutions for conducting so many activities and giving funding even for the research also. This is briefly about the Association of Indian Management Schools. And coming to the today's media partner, Business Standard, we all know that it's one of the renowned print media throughout the country and also giving service across the globe. So we are so much happy to join with us and promote our activity widely throughout the country. And particularly the managing director, Sri Bhattacharya, is taken initiative and interest towards conducting these events jointly. We should say thanks to Sri Bhattacharya sir. And also all the board members, including the present president of AIMS, Professor Patraji from the Kolkata, and the immediate past present Professor Sudhi Jarma from Meerut, and Professor Nandagopal, Coimbatore, and other past presidents, and the treasurer and the board members, and our RVP, Professor Narayan Reddy sir, is committedly doing a lot of activities and encouraging the member organizations and conducting these kind of activities very successful. Especially this year, the special person for all of us is executive member of AIMS, Dr. Durga Prasad sir, is actively involving in executing the events very perfectly. So we should say thanks to her also. And the backbone of entire event, Srimati Priya Madam, and technical support people, all the people are behind the screen of conducting this event. Coming to the today's valuable resource person, um, Sri Dr. S. Bharadhwaj sir. He is a seasoned academician and a researcher, and having more than 3 decades of experience in the teaching as well as administration and research. And he has a PhD in marketing from University of Maryland, USA. He is now Dean of the Paris School of Business, SRM University, AP. Prior to this, he has worked with the leading institutions in India and also abroad, like Singapore and other countries. He is also having association with IIT Madras and other institutions. Dr. Bharadhwaj is one of the leading researcher in marketing in India and has won numerous awards and having published dozens of papers in leading journals worldwide. He is also one of the few people from the country to be appointed as an assessor to an Australian Research Council, the pre-element body of research funding in Australia. Dr. Bharadhwaj is an outstanding teacher. He has taught all the levels like UG, PG, and PhD students. Absolutely love his classes. He is also trained executives in various companies like Titan and Citibank, Saint Gobain, and other TVS, other executive board members in various aspects. So this is about a brief profile of today's speaker. Coming to the today's concept knowledge sharing session, that is mainly focused on the cognitive dissonance, how the marketers can use it. So there is a big volume of research in psychology that dwells on cognitive dissonance. This is the state of psychological tension or mental disquiet that arises as a result on conflict between the action and the new belief. This is a talk the today's resource person is going to deliver, and the strategies of the entrepreneurs, particularly when they prepare the marketing strategies, how they make the consumers more comfortable into this particular zone. Sir is going to discuss the entire session with live case studies and so many examples. Now let us join together and listen very carefully the SARS deliberations. I hope that you can enjoy this. At the end of the session, the resource person will give the brief solutions for your ideas or as well as the questions. Over to today's resource person, Professor Bharadhwaj sir.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and thank you to AIMS for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on cognitive dissonance. And thank you, Dr. Reddy, for your wonderful introduction. I hope I'm able to live up to your expectations. Okay, now then quickly let's jump into the topic, cognitive dissonance. And, so this was coined, the term cognitive dissonance was coined by a person called Leon Festinger. And Leon Festinger, he was a professor of psychology. And, in the America, I think he was in Stanford University or some very reputed university. And he was a chain smoker. Right? So Leon Festinger was a chain smoker. So his friends used to tell him, Leon, you are a PhD, you are a psychologist, you're an educated person, you have a PhD, you should not be smoking like this. And you smoke, and 5, 6 packets a day you used to smoke. So then Festinger would reply, how does it matter? Because look at elite athletes such as Malcolm Marshall, cricketer, and Arthur Ashe, tennis player. Both of them, Arthur Ashe and this is Leon Festinger's reply. So he would say, not exactly Ashe and Malcolm, I'm just making that up, but people like that. So he would say that look at Malcolm Marshall, look at Arthur Ashe. They were supremely fit athletes. Those of you who are cricket followers will know that Malcolm Marshall was one of the greatest bowlers of all time, and he was very fit, only 5'10", 5'11", not a very tall person by West Indian fast bowling standards, but very quick and almost unplayable on his day. And so he would say, look at Malcolm Marshall. He was so fit. He was a non-smoker. He was a teetotaler and very fit athlete. And what happened to him? He died at age 42 or 41. And similarly, Arthur Ashe, famous tennis player, winner of Wimbledon, he also died at age 45, even though he was very fit and very trim and did not smoke, did not drink, etc. On the other hand, look at Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of England. See, being Prime Minister is a very stressful job. Like today, look at what has happened. We are having this meeting in the aftermath of the strikes by the Indian Army against terrorist camps in Pakistan after what happened, after what Pakistan terrorists did to our innocent people in Pahalgam. So look at the Prime Minister today. Look at the kind of tension and stress that he must be undergoing. Tremendous stress, tremendous tension, because we don't know what's going to happen next, and the Prime Minister is ultimately answerable, responsible. So likewise, Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of England when? That too during the Second World War. So imagine the kind of stress and tension that he must have gone through. In 6 years, he was Prime Minister. And an incredible 4-5 years. He was incredible. You cannot imagine the kind of stress and tension that Winston Churchill must have gone through. And Churchill was overweight. He was quite fat. And he used to smoke. If you see any photograph of Churchill, he'll be there with a cigar in his mouth. And a cigar is even worse than a cigarette. And Churchill was also fond of liquor. He used to drink every day. So he was under tremendous pressure, overweight, smoker, drinker. Yet what happened to him? He lived till the age of 90. And he died a natural death. He was not killed. He had a natural death at the age of 90. So therefore, Festinger used to say to his friends, to his well-meaning friends who used to counsel him to stop smoking, listen, it doesn't matter whether I smoke or don't smoke. Look at Malcolm Marshall. He died very early. Look at Winston Churchill. He smoked and lived till 90, even though he had a very stressful life. So therefore, my friend, whether you smoke or don't smoke doesn't matter. Brahmaji is written on my head, my fate. So if I live till 90, I live till 90. Whether I drink or smoke, it doesn't matter. If I have to die at 40, I will die at 40. It doesn't matter. Whatever is written on my head, that will happen. So that was Festinger's answer. But Festinger was also a reasonable person. an intelligent person. He went home and thought, why am I saying these things? Why am I defending something that is indefensible? I should not be smoking 4 or 5 packets of cigarettes a day. It's a strict no. It is really foolish to do so. Yet, rather than admitting I am wrong, I'm instead rationalizing, right? Rationalizing why smoking does not, why smoking may not be that harmful after all. So then he decided, no, this is not correct. So then he came up with this theory called cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance, cognitive dissonance is a state of mental tension or psychological disquiet that occurs as a result of a conflict between between a belief and an action, or between two discordant beliefs as well and an action. Right? So it's a state of mental tension or psychological disquiet that occurs as a result of a conflict between a belief and an action. So the action is that of smoking. Then the action is that of smoking. Now there's a conflict. So the belief is smoking is wrong, smoking is bad, but the action has already been done. Right? Already been done. The action is, it is almost irreversible. The cost of reversing that action is very, very high, at least from personal standpoint, for not physical, not the financial cost, but the difficulty. So that's what I mean by the cost here. If it is so difficult for Festinger to quit smoking, therefore, right? But at that time, he feels dissonance, he feels dissonance, that mental tension or psychological disquiet, right? Am I doing the right thing? Then that's what he feels. That feeling, that state of mind is called cognitive dissonance. And that's a state that, it's a tense state. So, because, like I said, it's mental tension or psychological disquiet. As human beings, we don't like to be unhappy. Happiness is our true nature. Happiness is what all of us strive for. Ultimately, all of us strive for happiness. Some people believe that by marrying a beautiful woman, I will be happy. Some people believe that, by buying a big car, I'll be happy. And some people believe that by owning a big house, I'll be happy. And they do all these things. Why? Because they believe that by doing these things, they will be happy. If that happiness finally occurs or not is a different question, but they strive for happiness. So, but it is difficult to be happy when one is under a state of mental tension or psychological disquiet. So, therefore, when somebody is under a state of cognitive dissonance, that is a state of mental tension or psychological disquiet, then the points to note are the following. Right? Dissonance is unpleasant. Nobody likes to be in a state of state of mental unrest or something. Dissonance is unpleasant. Right? Therefore, right, naturally, consumers try to reduce it. That is a human reaction. Try to reduce the dissonance because it is unpleasant. Nobody likes to be in a state of, nobody likes to be in a state of unpleasantness. We all like to be happy. So therefore, consumers try to reduce the dissonance. And how do they do that? See, the easiest way to get rid of the dissonance for Festinger would have been to simply quit smoking. Had he quit smoking, then he would have been very happy. All that unpleasantness would have vanished. But that is easier said than done. He's a chain smoker and addict, right? So therefore, rather than quitting smoking, what Festinger does is try and rationalize his behavior. Try and rationalize, right, his really indefensible behavior. Really, that's what he's doing. Trying to rationalize his indefensible. Smoking is wrong. Everybody knows that. It's period. Everybody knows that. But rather than admitting it, right, he is saying, no, it's not so bad. Brahmaji has written my fate, whatever, whatever. All these reasons he's trying to give. Right? Because quitting the action is difficult. The action is irreversible. Right? So once the action is taken, right, it is irreversible. So therefore, dissonance in marketing terms is always a post-choice phenomenon. It is always a post-choice phenomenon. Right? So because if the choice has happened, now the consumer feels a dissonance. Have I made the right choice? And have I made the right choice? Maybe I should have bought a different brand, right? Maybe I should have brought a different brand. It is always a post-choice phenomenon, and it always occurs for high involvement products or services. It always occurs for high involvement products or services. It's always a post-choice phenomenon. It always occurs for high involvement products or services because, see, here's a pen. Here I buy this pen. So this pen is worth 5 rupees. So if I made a wrong choice, then it does not cause any major dissonance. So I just throw away the pen and next time I will buy a new brand, another brand. That is all. There is no major cause to create, there's no major reason to face a dissonance. So let me show you a short video and we'll explain the concept of dissonance with some I'll come to marketing and how to use it in a while. Sorry.
First, there was PlayStation, aka PS1. Then there's PS2, PS3, and now PS4. And that makes sense. You'd think after Xbox, there'd be Xbox 2. But no. Next came Xbox 360. And now, after 360, comes Xbox One. Why one? Maybe that's how many seconds of thought they put into naming it.
Can you get the butter, please?
Yeah. However, with the Xbox One, I can control my entire entertainment system using voice commands. Up until now, I've had to use Leonard.
Then get the other one. Pass the butter.
Hang on. I don't feel like you're taking this dilemma seriously.
Fine, Sheldon. You have my undivided attention.
Okay, now, the PS4 is more angular and sleek looking.
No way!
It's true, but the larger size of the Xbox One may keep it from overheating.
You wouldn't want your gaming system to overheat?
No, see, well, you absolutely would not. And furthermore, the Xbox One now comes with a Kinect included.
Included?
Yes. Not sold separately. Although the PS4 uses cool new GDDR5 RAM, while the Xbox One is still using the conventional DDR3 memory.
Why would they still be using DDR3? Are they nuts?
See, that's what I thought. But then they go and throw in an ES RAM buffer.
Oh, wait a second. Who's they?
Xbox.
You're kidding!
No, I am not. And this ES RAM buffer should totally bridge the 100 gigabit per second bandwidth gap between the two RAM types.
This is a nightmare. How will you ever make a decision?
You see, I don't know. What should I do?
Please pass the butter! I'm proud of you, Sheldon.
You know, I'm proud of me too. I've done all my research, I conducted an informal poll, and I've arrived at the rock-solid certainty I've made the right choice.
Well, that's got to be a good feeling.
Oh, it is. Although...
Oh, crap.
Now, I had the same feeling when I made my dad buy a Betamax instead of a VHS.
You were just a little kid.
Yeah, a little kid who picked the wrong format to record the McNeil-Lehrer report. Now, I also was certain that HD DVD would win out over Blu-ray.
How old were you then?
Old enough to know better. You know, and now that I think about it, I stood in front of a case of iPods and I bought a Zune.
What's a Zune?
Yep, exactly. It's an MP3 player brought to us by the makers of Xbox.
No, what are you doing? No, pick that back up. You know it's good. You did the research.
But what if I'm wrong?
You know what? How about I buy it for you? How about I buy you both?
You know I only have one slot available on my entertainment center.
Then I'll buy you a new entertainment center.
Yeah, okay, sure. But which one?
How about this? I've heard that if you flip a coin, it will tell you how you actually feel, because you'll either be disappointed or excited by the outcome.
Interesting.
So heads, it's PS4, tails, it's Xbox One.
All right, I'll try.
What is it?
A quarter.
Could have given it back to me. That was a choice.
On the one hand, the Xbox One has a better camera, but the PS4 has a removable hard drive. Thoughts?
I can't feel my legs.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys, but the store closed 5 minutes ago.
But I haven't decided yet.
You have to come back tomorrow. The registers are closed.
Let's get you some food. You'll feel better after you eat.
Okay.
What do you want? Like Thai food, a burger?
I don't know!
So here, right? So here in this video from a popular sitcom called The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon is undecided whether to buy the PS4 or the other one, right? Or the Xbox. And so here he does not feel the dissonance. That is called conflict. But had he bought one, then he would have gone home and wondered whether I have made the right choice. He would have felt the dissonance. And so from this, we can also gauge one more thing. The probability of dissonance occurring is greater for poorly differentiated categories. If the category is well differentiated, then we may not feel that much dissonance, right? Right? But because you know very well, like we are all management, students or teachers. So let's say that there's a particular student, Ram. Ram gets, IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta, two of the leading B schools in the country. And Ram is interested in a career in strategy and OB and all that. So we all know that IIM Ahmedabad is well known for strategy and OB and all that. So Ram has no doubts about which college he wants to join. Ram joins IIM Ahmedabad. He will not feel that much dissonance, if at all. Right? Because IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta are they are two different institutes with different, one is very good in OB strategy, others good, very good in operations and analytics and all that, right? So Ram will not feel dissonance because the two are sharply differentiated. But if the two were not sharply differentiated, then, we feel that consumers feel dissonance. And the natural tendency of the consumer is to reduce the distance because the action is virtually irreversible. The action is virtually irreversible. Like for Festinger, giving up smoking is very difficult. It's virtually not an option because he's an addict. So rather than giving up smoking, which is what he should be doing, what he should have done, he instead defends his action. Defends his action. He feels a dissonance, then because the dissonance is unpleasant, he tries to reduce it. How can he reduce it? By giving up smoking, which is not an option, it's very difficult. Rather than giving up smoking, he makes attitudes towards smoking more positive, right? He tries to defend smoking. After all, it's not that bad. People live, all these things that are actually not correct. So that is what happens, and see, let me tell you one thing before I come to marketing applications. Cognitive dissonance is a very powerful thing. All of us have experienced cognitive dissonance at some point of or the other and in our lives. It's a very powerful thing. It's not very trivial, and it affects, so many things. Like, for example, uh, in England, the Prime Minister, in every Parliament session, they have something called Prime Minister's Questions. If you've not watched it earlier, please go and watch some Prime Minister's Questions. And I once watched Tony Blair replying in the House of Commons in the Prime Minister's Questions. Amazing, just the way that he replied to 25 years back. Amazing. What wit, what presence of mind, I cannot believe how smart Tony Blair was. But, Tony Blair today he is very unpopular, mainly because of the Iraq war. In 2003, England, UK, and USA invaded Iraq on the premise that there were weapons of mass destruction. There were no weapons of mass destruction at all. So then, at the end of the Iraq war, Saddam Hussein was hung to death, but there were no weapons of mass destruction. So then, everybody in England believed Tony Blair lied to the public. So what they did in England was they set up a commission of inquiry called the Chilcot Committee, Chilcot Report. Lord Chilcot was, he was a man of unimpeachable integrity almost. So nobody doubted him. He was neither favoring the Labour Party nor the Conservative Party. He was totally impartial. And Lord Chilcot interviewed Tony Blair and lots of others. At the end of 7 years of inquiry, he concluded that Tony Blair did not lie to the public. He gave him a clean chit, saying that Tony Blair did not lie. He was not a liar. Then why did Tony Blair continue with the war? The reason is cognitive dissonance. So when there were no weapons of mass destruction, he found new reasons for the war, such as Saddam Hussein is an evil person. We have to get rid of him. We have to save democracy or whatever, right? So he found newer ways of reducing the dissonance because he entered the war. He could not exit, right? It was like Abhimanyu, he was caught, and he was caught in the middle, right? And, he could not exit. So because of dissonance reduction, he wanted to reduce his dissonance. Why go so far, right? Let me show you a news item, very topical news item. Just now, before this, We all know that yesterday or early morning today, the armed force successfully they have bombed several sites, terrorist sites in Pakistan. And here is what, and 10 people of Masood Azhar, he is a terrorist. He's an internationally well-known terrorist, notorious, I should say, notorious terrorist. And so 10 people of his family were killed in the attacks of the Indian armed forces. He himself has admitted that 10 people have died, and but he says, I have neither regret nor despair. Right? What should he have done? He should have been sorry. That he should have said, I mean, because of me, 10 people of my family today, maybe young children, young nephew, niece, 20-year-old, 15-year-old people, they're all died. They're all dead because of what I did. Right? He should have regretted his actions, but he did not. He said, it's all the will of Allah. It's all the will of Allah. That's how it works, and so on. Because changing his actions is irreversible. So rather than that, he defends himself, saying that I did no wrong, that I did no wrong, and so on. Right? So that is dissonance reduction. So it is very, very powerful. It is not something trivial. Right? So when terrorists like Masood Azhar feel it, very intelligent prime ministers like Tony Blair feel it, have experienced it, and the evidence is there. Right? The evidence is there. I mean, normally I like to make my class very interactive, but I don't have time. And in an online session, right? How much time I have, sir, Dr. Reddy? Till 4 o'clock, right?
It's about 20 minutes, sir.
20 minutes. So let me zip through them. Let me zip through. So what marketeers can do, therefore, is, the consumer likes to reduce his or her dissonance. So what marketeers have to do is help him or her along, right? Help him or her along. Right? So enable the process of dissonance reduction. Right? It is because, like I said, it is very, very serious. It is serious. Look at e-commerce companies today. One of the biggest challenges e-commerce companies today face, like Amazon and Flipkart or Myntra, the product returns. We buy something, all of us have bought something at Amazon, all of us have returned something to Amazon. When we buy something on Amazon, we buy it, we pay, and we come home. I mean, we don't come home, we shop from home itself. We pay, and then the delivery is day after tomorrow. Let's say I make a payment today on May 7th. The delivery is on May 9th or May 10th. Then I develop some remorse. Have I made the right choice? Have I made the right choice? I should not have splurged all this money on this product. So what I do is, because I feel dissonance, here the choice is reversible. I can just return the item, right? If I go to a physical store, I buy an expensive product, I come home, I can still go back and return, but it's not that simple, right? I have to go back, and then the shopkeeper will ask 1,000 questions. So it's difficult. With Amazon, I can easily return. So what do? I return the product. So because I'm able to reduce my dissonance by returning the product, I return the product. So what does Amazon, so therefore Amazon ends up losing a lot of money. Thousands and thousands of crores of money is lost by Amazon because of product returns every day by consumers. Lakhs and lakhs of people in India return products that they buy on Amazon because they're unable to justify to themselves the need for the product, therefore the return. So therefore, Amazon has to find a way of reducing consumer dissonance. If it does not, it is going to lose thousands of crores of money. Right? So therefore, Amazon has to find a way. So like that, many companies have found a way. How? Simple. Some methods are simple, like giving extended warranties. Like when I buy a motorcycle or a two-wheeler, I get a 3-year warranty. Now, I'm not convinced whether it is good or bad. So when I see a company says 5-year warranty, then I feel reassured. Yes, it is very good, right? It is very good, right? It is very good, right? And therefore, I'm reassured. I reduce my dissonance and I end up buying the product. Or even after purchase, I don't return the product, don't say bad things about the product, right? Don't say bad things about the product. Because dissonance, if left unchecked, will boil over and become dissatisfaction. Up to a point, the consumer will reduce his or her dissonance. After the threshold limit is reached, it becomes dissatisfaction, bad word of mouth. We know that when we go to Amazon, we go to various sites, we see so many negative reviews all the time. So, for example, we reduce our dissonance up to a point. So this message I got on, those of you who are cricket fans will know that almost 8 years back, this time India won the Champions Trophy. The year 2017, India and Pakistan played the final in England and India lost. We were all extremely disappointed that India lost to Pakistan. Then one of my friends sent a message saying, don't worry about it. So what if India loses? A cricket match. Look at India. We send a satellite to Mars. We put 100 plus satellites into orbit, and we are such a growing economy. And Pakistan, what do they have? Just some cricket match they won. That's all. But then he also says, all said and done, losing to the Pakistanis is always a bitter pill to swallow, though. No, that is a dissonance we are trying to reduce, but after some time it's not possible. And after some time, it's not possible. So that is why companies. So I will give you 2-3 quick examples and wind up so that I leave some time for questions. Look at IKEA, for instance. See how well they manage the dissonance. IKEA is famous for knockdown furniture, do-it-yourself furniture. Now, look at the genius of IKEA. So IKEA, so this laptop is on a table. You can see my table. So if I want to buy a table like this from IKEA, I cannot. IKEA will sell the different parts of the table, the legs, the stand, and the screws, and they will give me an instruction booklet. I will come home and, I have to assemble the table. And then now, the beauty about IKEA's strategy is this. See, some parts are obvious, like they will save on inventory cost, labor cost, and so on. But apart from that, they have a subtle benefit. The benefit is this. I come home and assemble the table. Now, I spend 2.5 hours assembling the table. That action is done. That is irreversible. I cannot disassemble the table now. So now, mentally, I feel, have I done the right thing? Have I made the right choice? But because I have assembled the table, I feel dissonance. And how do I reduce the dissonance? By saying that it's a great table. That rather than admitting that the table is not so good, it's not worth it. I don't like to do that because I have spent 3 hours assembling the table. So that is irreversible. So rather than saying what I did was wrong, I end up saying, IKEA is a wonderful product. It's a wonderful table. Right? So the dissonance reduction is by changing the attitude to IKEA to make it more positive, right? Make it more positive, right? So that's what IKEA does, right? That's what IKEA does, right? And look at ready-to-eat companies like MTR and Ashirwad in India. So they face a problem. The ready-to-eat companies in India are not doing that well, despite the fact that our lifestyles have become more, uh, uh, I would say, stressful. We have less time on our hands for cooking and other things. So that being the case, we should buy more and more RT products like MTR and mixes and so on. But the growth is not that high because the lady of the house feels dissonance even if she's a working woman. She feels dissonance. She is unable to reduce. Why does she feel this dissonance? She cuts a packet of rava idli mix or idli mix or whatever. She pours it in the water, boils it, and the dish is ready. So in 5 minutes, the dish is ready. Upma or whatever is ready. Now, so she feels a dissonance. Where is my contribution? I am expected to cook, but rather than that, I have just cut open a packet and I'm feeding my husband and children. Right? Feeding my husband and children. Right? So therefore, where is my contribution? She is unable to reduce her feeling of guilt or dissonance. Right? So therefore, she does not end up buying Ashirwad again, not Ashirwad again. The sales of Ashirwad or MTR are impacted because of the inability of the Indian consumer to reduce her dissonance. So that is a key reason why the sales of Ashirwad and MTR are not much higher than what they should be at present. Right? In America, the RT food manufacturers like General Mills, Kellogg, and other companies, they have to a large extent solved this problem. They make the consumers more involved in making the product, making the final dish, like cutting the vegetables, preparing the sauces or whatever. So now the consumer feels a dissonance, reduces the dissonance by saying, oh, this is what I did. I contributed here. That is why it is so tasty or whatever. Betty Crocker eggs, in fact, that's what they did. Betty Crocker, not eggs, Betty Crocker cake mixes. 50 years back, Betty Crocker came up with cake mixes. And then the sales were flat because American women, were used to baking cakes on their own. And now they're just cutting it and pouring it. That's all. Mix the water, put in the oven, and it's done. Where is my contribution? The dissonance is felt. Inability to reduce the dissonance led to low sale. Then Betty Crocker, they said, you buy 2 eggs, break the eggs, mix them, and then make the cake. It will be very tasty. So now that's what the American woman did. And as a result, she felt, oh, the cake is so tasty because I broke the eggs, I made the batter. That is why it is so tasty. So she's able to reduce her dissonance. She buys again. If she does not reduce the dissonance, she will not buy again. Right? She does not buy again. Right? Or a final example I will give. Akshaya Tritiya happened last week. April 30th was Akshaya Tritiya. And 20 years back, many of us in this room are Hindus and many of us are devout Hindus, I would imagine. 25 years back, none of us had heard this festival called Akshaya Tritiya. Right? So what the marketeers did was, they have hyped up this festival. 25 years back, none of us would have known Akshaya Tritiya, or at least 90% of us did not know Akshaya Tritiya. Today, everybody knows Akshaya Tritiya. On Akshaya Tritiya, everybody buys gold, jewelry, silver, platinum, whatever, even cars, mobiles, whatever. The reason is this. The hidden reason, the subtle reason is this. Earlier, when a consumer would have bought some jewelry, there's a feeling of guilt, dissonance. I've spent this 1 lakh rupee buying this diamond necklace when I should be spending it on my daughter's wedding or daughter's education. Why should I buy this? That dissonance is there. But now the lady of the house, she buys on Akshaya Tritiya. And then she says, the marketeers tell her, ma'am, you've not merely bought a necklace. You are bringing Goddess Mahalakshmi home. You are getting prosperity. And for that, the price to pay is 1 lakh. That's not a big price to pay to enjoy everlasting prosperity and the blessings of Goddess Mahalakshmi. So that's not too high. You did the right thing. So she's able to reduce her dissonance because the marketeer is telling her, you're buying prosperity, you're bringing prosperity, not merely buying 1 lakh rupee, you're not wasting 1 lakh rupees. So in all these ways, there are many more examples I can give. In the interest of time, we'll stop here. There are many more ways in which marketers can use dissonance and reduce the dissonance. And this is critical. And if they do it well, they will enjoy high sale. If they don't do it well, then their sale will be flat or stagnant, like Betty Crocker many decades back, or the MTR and other companies today. So I will stop here and open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them and answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much for your valuable time, Professor Bharadhwaj sir. I think you explained the concept in a different manner. Usually, we have to give more focus on the theoretical part in the class, but instead you focus on the cases as well as the live examples and recent past, including the India Pakistan, the current burning situations, and the IPL matches and everything. It's quite interesting, and even the
Yeah, we'll have a
participants.
question. Yeah, we'll have a question. Miss Alia Sultana, yeah, question. We'll take the question.
Yeah, even the participants in the chat box are expressing their happiness and giving the good feedback about the event, and they really felt happy towards listening this 45 minute session. They expect more such good programs if possible.
Okay, that's
Definitely,
fine,
sir.
but we'll first take the question. Alia Sultana, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Questions, I think from my side, one question.
Now, I think we'll first take the participant question. Alia
Yeah,
Sultana has raised her hand.
participants.
She has raised her hand. Alia Sultana, can you just switch on your
Alia
video?
Sultan, I have to check once. Alia Sultan.
Alia Sultana, can you ask a question? You have a question, ma'am?
Think the comments wise, I didn't find.
Okay, never mind. Then, yeah, so you had a question, Dr. Reddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we integrate this, whatever anchor point and this, the cognitive dissonance?
I think let us not talk about that because I have not explained the anchor point here. That anchor to this to my participants here. Right? Let's say that at this point there are two different things. That's all.
Okay, right, fine. Ali Sultan is asking for the mic, and I'll yeah.
Yeah, please let her ask questions.
He is asking for what will be the future of the marketing with present scenario of AI.
Well, if I think even AI will not give the answer right now, let alone me, right? I was just having a chat just before the session with the marketing head of the Hindu group of publications. Before the session, I was meeting him. I was telling him that, look at advertising, that how's it changing, right? People are writing the copy, right? People are writing copy by themselves, and people are, I mean, AI is writing the copy and AI is doing everything. So what does the advertising agency do? I mean, the copywriter do? He or she is out of a job, right? And so on, right? Look at chatbots. They are replacing human beings, right? Chatbots are replacing human beings. And all of us use ChatGPT for searching, right? So consumers increasingly will use all the AI tools, not only the generative AI tools, but also things like Google Lens, Alexa, Siri for making decisions, right? For various things, they will use chatbots and so on. Right? So marketeers have to be up to date, right? They have to integrate AI in almost everything, right? Today, in fact, I had a session with Harvard Publishing. And earlier, when we used to give a case study, uh, you know, we used to give a case study and we would tell the student, come tomorrow with a solution. Now, today, the student just feeds it to ChatGPT and within seconds, it gives a solution. So how is the student going to learn? So AI is going to affect everything, right? It's going to affect everything, not only marketing, right? Not only marketing. And smart people, my classmate, he works in Infosys and in America in a very senior position. And he uses AI tools like Claude and Perplexity in a very big way. And according to him, he said that if I don't use AI well, then I will be left behind. So we have to learn how to use AI, integrate AI in our everyday lives, into marketing, finance, whatever. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. So consumers are doing it. We have to follow. And, at every point, right, whether it's in personalization or whether it's in consumer search or consumer service, AI has to be used. And it is being used already, and that will only accelerate. Mhm. Yeah, any other question?
Yeah. One more question from the same person is the example which you cited regarding the ready to make the packed foods.
Yeah.
Don't you think that the awareness about wellness is one of the major factors for slow growth of the sector?
It is one of the factors, but easily the most important factor is the inability of the consumer to reduce her dissonance. Right? That is a single most important factor, because if that health alone is a reason, then people eat all kinds of junk food like pizza and noodles and you know various Coca-Cola and potato chips. You look at the sale of chips, is going through the roof. And Lay's and Pepsi, and they all report very high sale because, I mean, that also is unhealthy. So it is not that health awareness alone is a factor. The inability to reduce her dissonance is a key factor. Right? Okay.
Yeah, one more question from Shankar Rana is there any chance of physical store get back into old form? Any suggestions on how it does?
He's also asked, right here, one second. You can mail me in my personal email ID, bharadhwaj1971 Gmail. Right? Okay. Physical store to get
Yeah.
to old forms. Again, very difficult question. Right? E-commerce is rising, but in India, the Kirana stores are doing quite well, right? Because they have integrated again a lot of these things. A lot of technology in their stores, and also they have tied up with quick commerce companies. See, today, quick commerce is eating e-commerce, right? So quick commerce, like Big Basket, is threatened by Zepto and Blinkit, right? Zepto and Blinkit. Everybody knows that, right? So the Kirana stores have very smartly, they have tied up, rather than fight e-commerce, right? Fight quick commerce. They're aligned with the quick commerce companies. So companies like Swiggy and Blinkit, now from where will they get the products? From the Kirana stores, right? The Kirana stores have tied up, have associated with the quick commerce companies. So by integrating technology, and by tying up with quick commerce companies, by sprucing up their stores, by all these mechanisms, the Kirana stores are giving a run for the e-commerce companies' money. Right? That is for sure. Right? But in the long run, the malls and so on, and people still want to go out, people still want to get entertained. So the malls, etc., I think even in America now, the malls are making a comeback because of this reason. Okay, good.
Thank you very much for your valuable, insightful discussion, sir. With this, we would like to conclude. You really gave the answer for the good feedback and the questions of the participants. We once again express our deep thanks to our today's resource person, Professor Bharadhwaj, sir, for sparing your valuable time in spite of the so many meetings with the organization. And also, we should thank to today's backbone of the event, Priya Madam from Coimbatore, and the technical person from Secunderabad, AIMS office, and all the administrative and board members. Thank you, all the participants and the resource persons, everyone. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.